All right, so good afternoon, everyone. Great to see you here for the quarterly meeting. It's already February 28th, and tomorrow is March. Once again, we have a standing room only here at the auditorium, so for those who are on internet land, I'm sure it's going to be much more comfortable for you to listen in. So I'll start us off today, just giving some updates, and then we'll pass it on to the directors. Dr. Shulo, unable to make it today because he's coming back from the PDE Conference on Special Education. So he's traveling currently to come back. So first, want to make sure that we share, the three goals that we have as an organization, and we continue to strive towards. That first one being a premier leading experts in the areas of student, curriculum, technology, infrastructure, financial, as well as executive services. And so with folks going to the PDE conference on special ed, the opportunity that we had to provide trainings for our districts over the past quarter are good examples of how we're meeting that goal. The second goal is, of course, we want to be state-level players for state-level initiatives. And recently, we had an opportunity to represent IUs at the state level during the Senate Appropriations Committee hearing, and it was dedicated purely on intermediate units. I was lucky enough with two other executive directors and from the East, as well as Tom Gluck, our executive director, and for an hour we talked about IUs, and I had many opportunities to share the great things that we're doing here at Westmoreland Intermediate Unit. So feel free to check it out on the Senate budget. The appropriations budget hearings on PCN if you want to see what we said about IUs and specifically about IU7. And last but not least, we want to be a purposeful entrepreneurial enterprise for educational opportunities. And so that's what it's all about. I know Tim's going to be talking a little bit about probably the Stand Up for Bullying initiatives that we have, getting kids involved and other examples. So we always want to keep our eyes on the prize of what our goals are, and every decision that we make contributes to those goals. So it's always good and healthy to remind ourselves what our goals are as an organization. And before I go any further, I also want to mention that thanks again for those who are here, as well as those who are joining us on the internet. And on the very bottom, you'll see a chat function. Feel free, if you have any questions throughout, to type your questions in, as well as I can open up the mic for those out in internet land to ask questions as well verbally. So don't be afraid to use that chat function if you have a question as we go through. Another kind of general announcement, we'll be updating the organizational chart and putting that onto the website here in the next week. And so I'll probably send out an email just to say, hey, the new organization chart's updated. Just make sure that it has all of our employees listed there, and the numbers of employees that we have in the different divisions. So that's always been a helpful tool for folks to understand the big picture of the IU. Third thing I'd like to share, and I'm jumping around different topics, Clairview presentations. We have since the beginning of January, myself, as well as Dr. Shulo and Colleen Suchko, have been presenting to districts all across our county about what Clairview is, what it does, and the great things that happen there. And we've had some great responses from the districts that have allowed us to come present. A special shout out goes to Marissa Rega for creating a wonderful video, commercial quality video on Clairview. And if you haven't had an opportunity to see it, we'll make sure that we get the link out so everyone can take a look at it, because it's truly outstanding. And also, I want to also recognize that we had a number of staff members attend district board meetings in support of Clairview. And just want to throw out a shout out to the following people. So from our classroom assistants, and forgive me if I missed you, let me know if I missed you, and then I'll send a special email for everyone to know that I missed you. But Linda Hickman has attended too, Michelle Keenan, Gail Comprada, Sally Malagich, Darlene Miller has attended to, Terry Pajak has attended to, Darlene Polito, Teresa Saforic, Nancy Williamson. So thanks to all the classroom assistants that took their time in the evening to join us in support of Clairview. And in terms of professional staff, Stacy Bojack has attended to, Lori I, Sarah Holden, Luann Murtha has attended to, Kelly Nace, Dave Novella, Cindy Sager, Steve Saunders is at 4 board meetings that he's attended. Claire Sheedy, and I see Claire's on with us today on the internet. Thanks again, Claire. Angel Stahl, and right now in the lead is Shannon Birch at 6 board meetings. So shout out goes to Shannon. Holly Tonkin and Adam Zawalsh has attended 3 as well. So again, thank you so much for everyone showing their support. We do have 2 more actually. We have Burrell coming up in 2 weeks, and just last evening, Mount Pleasant confirmed April 9th as another presentation that we're going to be giving. So it has gone a long way. And just a real quick story I shared last night. You know, we had so many people at one of the board meetings that a district official asked if these folks were here to protest or something. And we said, no, they're there to support the IU and Clairview. And they were rather impressed by the numbers that we had. So thanks again for that show of force and support that you have for our programs out there. All right, all hazards planning and MERP. So as we know, things have changed since we've been together the last quarterly meeting, and the unfortunate events of Florida has really sent every school district and IU and an educational institution to really think about their safety plans and the steps in which to follow. So again, we highly encourage you to, if you haven't yet, downloaded or have a bookmark for the mobile emergency response plan on your computer. We encourage you to do that. I know Mr. Vaughn may be talking a little bit more about that, or resend those links, because everyone in the organization has access to it. And also, we highly encourage you, if you choose, to download the mobile app, the MERP, right on your phone. So everyone then has our, who's been given access to all of our plans and responses to different things. And so not only internally are we talking about this, but we also have many districts who continue to be interested in that application, as we are partnered with Safeguard Solutions statewide to get this type of product out there and to help keep our kids safe. And so, you know, don't forget to do that. Make sure that you have access to our safety plans, as you know, and hopefully we never have to use them, but we just need to remind ourselves of where things are at. All right. Next thing I wanted to talk just briefly about is our capital improvements. We've celebrated now the opening of our front entranceway, and still working out some of the small kinks and dealing with that, but continuously we're getting very positive responses to the look and feel of the building as you walk in, as compared to the old way that it looked out there. Our next phase of construction is going to be here in the auditorium, which we've renamed the Fred Rogers Room. And for all those people sitting in the auditorium right now, maybe the next time that we're together in September, you'll actually be on the floor, because we're going to be getting rid of the risers in this room and then make this room more look and feel like the center ice room, with screens around, different types of flooring, flexible seating, and it's going to be a premier training room in the county. So that's the next phase of construction here at this particular building. And so I think, Eric, we're going to be looking at breaking ground May-ish.
Yeah, probably around the end of May. You know, the board last night approved us advertising to solicit bids for the construction project. Once that we go through that process, then we have to bid, review the documents, then review the submitted bids, and then finally award the contract.
So we're hoping by September, October is when, you know, this would be fully functional, you know, as a great training room, and have many other people use it. So thank you, Eric. Mm-hmm. All right. Another topic here, our end of year in service day. We're making just a small shift in terms of the date. Originally, we had it scheduled for June 8th, but we're actually going to be doing the celebration the PM of June 7th, which is a Thursday, and location to be determined. So we just made a slight change, and it's going to be the afternoon of June 7th. I know Dr. Shulo has been and will be communicating with student services and how that's going to look for student services. For those that are here at this building, that's probably maybe the first time that you heard that we're going to be moving it to June 7th. But more communication will be coming out for that event on June 7th. General operating budget. Are you going to talk about general operating budget? All right, so I don't want to steal Lynn's thunder with general operating budget. Also, just to remind folks that you can always, well, first, we encourage everyone to go to board meetings here, because that's where you can kind of get the latest and greatest information on board discussions and things that we bring to the board. We had a real nice crowd last night, and I hope to continue that momentum. A lot of people are scared when you have a lot of people at a board meeting. I look at it as continued support for the organization. So we encourage you to attend. Also, if you want to know what's on the agenda, you can always go to schoolboard.wiu.k12.pa.us, and that'll take you right to then the board agenda, so you can see what's going to be voted upon and what the discussions are going to be about. So again, open meetings, we encourage you to come. Last evening we actually held committee meetings, and the committees match of the divisions that we have. So technology, curriculum, finance, and student services. And those were very successful. And those are also open to the public as well, where we go a little deeper into technology and infrastructure in that committee. And right now, we're planning on every 6 months to hold those committees, but it's really up to the chairs and the division chiefs if they're going to meet a little more throughout the year. So that was a great success with that. And last but not least, and I'll remind us again at the end of this meeting, our next quarterly meeting is going to be Wednesday, May 30th. So Wednesday, May 30th. So you want to mark your calendars and begin buying your tickets for that event. All right. So without further ado, how about Eric, you go next with technology and infrastructure.
I can't remember if at the last quarterly meeting if it was announced, but we were the recipient of a Safe Schools grant through the state. So with that grant, we will be deploying security cameras and access controls at Clairview. So those will be forthcoming. We met with the installation company a couple weeks ago to map out the locations of those cameras, and also to prepare for the cabling infrastructure that has to happen. Along those lines, related to school safety, we're also in the process of deploying phone alertings at Clairview that would allow for student assistance, and then also 2 lockdown levels of notifications that will go out. So we're finalizing the training materials and the documentation that go along with that. So our goal is hopefully by next week to have that information out to the teachers and staff at Clairview. We also have similar setup here. We have the receptionist out front can send an alert, and also any type of notifications, paging that can come across all the phone system to alert for any events that could be happening or need attention. Also related to Clairview, in the past there's been a lot of concern about the classroom doors at Clairview not being able to lock. No easy way to secure those rooms. So we're looking at a door security solution it's called Barracuda. So it's essentially a bar that will go across the door and attached to the door handle, so it wouldn't allow those doors to open. So we do have one that is coming in. Unfortunately, there's a pretty long backlog. It's a 2 to 3 week delivery on this device, but we do have one coming in to see how it works and get feedback from staff. So that will be forthcoming. Finally, last thing, RIU was a lead in a product developed by Cisco Systems. It's called Umbrella. It's a network security solution that helps protect computer networks and end user devices that are connected to the physical network. So RIU was the first lead consortium across the state. We have about 10 of our districts that are currently participating. So basically the way the consortium works, if a district went out on their own, they're pricing tier would be much higher than if we pulled together all of the districts that wanted to participate. So we were able to, I think our FTE count now across all participants is close to 3,000. So, that puts us in a whole different tier and, allows us to drive the cost down for everyone. And I think that's a model that, we'd like to replicate with other programs and services across the IU.
Yeah, good point, Eric. Yeah, I mean, that's exactly one of the purposes of IUs is that consortium pricing and bringing greater numbers together for cheaper prices. And so that's a real good example of that for sure.
That's
all right. And then we did have one of our first fire drills at this building. And so
we did in quite some time, yes,
yeah.
And it was successful. Everyone was able to find the way out, and
no one hid, and we couldn't.
Right.
We found everyone that hid.
Yep.
So even Anne Marie, we found her. I'm just joking. So,
yep.
All right. So very good, Eric. Thank you very much. Let's go to curriculum services. So Tim, the puck is yours now.
Thank you.
You bet.
So let me kick it off with some information about our BARC initiative. Talked about that before here, but there's two really great developments in that on that front. One of them is that we actually on Monday, this coming week, we're kicking off a very exciting research project with it's actually funded by Highmark. It's in conjunction with the Center for Health Promotion and Disease Prevention in Johnstown. And we're going to be studying in 3 different schools across our county the impact of BARC in engaging parents in schools in regard to student safety, cyberbullying, and such. So we're going to be running the project for a full year. Each family that participates in this will be receiving BARC as a service for a full year for free. There's no charge to the families. So we're really excited to see what we learn from this and what that does to the school climate where this is employed. So BARC is on board with it, as is Highmark and the Center for Health Promotion Disease Prevention. And Matt Thomas, as well as myself here, have been working on the initiative as well. So really excited that it's kicking off and we're getting started with it, and we'll keep you posted on how that progresses. Also, in light of recent events with concerning school safety, BARC has rolled out a brand new component to their offerings, and that is it's called BARC for G Suite, which is a tool that it incorporates the same kind of protective services that BARC does for families and social media, but it does so for school districts within their Google platforms. So it allows schools to be vigilant and monitor and detect issues that may occur in their systems. So it's very likely that this tool can uncover problems before they happen. It could identify issues that students are having. It could identify cyberbullying as well as depression and suicidal thoughts and more. So what's really exciting about this is that BARC is offering this to schools for free with no intention to charge in the future for it as well. It is quite a huge gift to schools as far as I'm concerned. We do currently have 3 of our districts piloting and running the BARC for G Suite in their schools, and they're already seeing some successes in finding issues, but more to come. It's still very early, so hopefully find a few more schools. Actually have a couple more schools that are wanting to talk to us about the implementation. So I foresee that growing quickly here for us in the future. And hopefully it addresses some of the safety issues from a completely different angle, rather than looking at just the physical structures of our buildings and our plans for how to deal with a crisis. This looks at it from a whole different angle in looking at protecting before anything actually happens, looking at the mental health of students and situations that occur that have otherwise gone unnoticed in the past. So we're excited that that's happening. Along those lines, we also have a very exciting project that we've been working on for the last few months, and that is our student anti-bullying task force, which it has been meeting and working and developing an event for this coming spring, which we have actually booked for April 5th. It is a totally student-driven event. So the students are doing the planning. The students are going to be here delivering that day. They've decided on whether or not to have a keynote speaker, who that keynote speaker might be, and putting a lot of effort into it. So we've had 7 school districts participate in this process, and about 20 students and advisors from those schools who've come together to do the planning. So we're really excited that that's coming to fruition, and April 5th is the date of the event that will be held here at the IU. Some other events coming up here. We have very busy in the STEM department. Matt Thomas has 2 competitions coming up, one in for the high school state STEM competition, and then also the middle school and elementary Connect STEM Challenge. We also have our annual academic competition coming up, where we get to play our version of Jeopardy here at the IU. We have our own Alex Trebek in-house that we play host to our schools, and the winning team then goes on to the state competition through us. So that's coming up as well. Just a quick update on a couple of our programs. Current E-Academy enrollments, we've continued to break records this year. We are, as of today, cresting 3,200 course enrollments as of today, which is really exciting. That's the highest we've ever been as far as our enrollments go.
And that's more than all of last year combined, right?
Exactly. Yeah. At the end of last year, we had just not quite broken 3,000, so we just missed it. So fantastic effort on everybody's part there in that program growing. Jim Cassell's been out there pushing and doing his best to keep the enrollments flowing. Also in ESL, we have at this point 70 plus students. Cindy informed me just yesterday that we're at that point, and that's one of our highest numbers we've ever served in our EL population across the county. So again, another growing program. Another component that we've been faced with recently as a division, and it's becoming more and more a part of our radar screen, and that is the Future Ready Index and the changes that the new ESSA plan brings to our schools. Supporting that, the changes that brings. One of the biggest components that's new to our school districts is the career readiness component, which is asking schools to create an ongoing portfolio of career prep for students. A lot of guidance needed on that right now, and a lot of questions being asked. So it falls on our division to try to answer those questions. Things related to chronic absenteeism, that's going to be another really important piece of the new Future Ready Index. And just explaining what Future Ready Index is, there's a lot of a much different approach to measuring school success here in PA based on the new ESSA plan. And Future Ready Index is the front-facing view of that for the public. So as the next year progresses, we'll be doing more and more work to try to clarify and help understand how all of these new components play into our schools and how they advertise their success to the public.
All right. That's it. Thank you very much, Tim. Let's pass the hockey puck over to Lynn from Financial Services.
Thank you. I do want to advise you that effective February 1st, we hired Rod Miller full-time to my staff. Rod actually was brought on part-time before I even was hired, but I'm very excited for him to be here full-time, 5 days a week to help us. His background and experience in auditing schools, school districts, as well as governmental fund accounting is a wealth of knowledge that is very helpful for all of us. So I'm anxious and excited to have him on board and see what all we can get moving on. Also, the general budget, as Dr. Conway mentioned, it was presented to the superintendents and business managers in January, and to our board as well. And then last night, our board approved it. The 2018-19 general budget is around $5.5 million. It does have a little bit of a few new items in it. What we did was we took Clairview's rent, taxes, and utilities out of Clairview's budget and put it into the general budget. That'll take the burden off of Clairview and the tuition for those programs. And you basically are charging rent for the spaces to the programs that are going to be in that building. So whether it's a Head Start program, an early intervention classroom, any of the life skills, autism, each program will have its own standalone piece of its share of the rent and taxes and utilities to pay, but it won't be the complete burden being put onto that budget. So I'm very excited about that. Even in doing that, in putting that roughly $300,000+ worth of expense into the general budget, the general budget contribution for the member districts went down about $90,000. So they will be only funding about a little over 5% of our general budget with their contributions. So it went down from $375,000 down to $285,000. So I'm very excited about that as well.
3 years ago, it was about $500,000.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it continues to go down.
And now at this point, since our board approved this last night, it will get sent out to the superintendents and be voted on at the school district levels. Of the 17 school districts, we need to have a proportionate vote of passing, and then I will need to submit that to PDE by May 1st. So hopefully we'll have the majority of the school districts approve that in March. If not, it'll have to get into their April board meeting for us to make our deadline. Next thing is we're kind of in the throes of a lot of different various budgets. Dr. Schuler and I have been working feverishly on trying to get a jump on all the special education budgets, Clairview, Core, school age speech, vision, deaf and hard of hearing, Act 89 non-pub, and all the IDEA components. We're trying to get all of that done ahead of time, which will help the school districts in developing their budgets as well. So we're working on those and early intervention as well. So those really should be done, hopefully, probably at least I would say a month and a half to 2 months sooner than they were last year. The other thing that I'm excited about is our audit for the 16-17 year is finished, and the filing for our single audit has to be done for the federal funding that we received by March 31st. And last year we filed on March 31st. This year they're done February 28th, and we'll probably have the audit report issued within the next 3 or 4 days. So I'm excited that that is also progressing to be more proactive. So that's a good thing. The last thing I'll say is that we're also, as Dr. Conway mentioned, this consortium that we do, we handle the consortium for multi-purpose paper for the school districts and CTCs, as well as diesel fuel and gasoline. We have 12 districts that participate in the fuel and 19 that participate in the paper bids. So that's already ongoing. We've put out the legal advertisements for both of those. The fuel's a little different. They actually bidders have to actually pre-register an intent to bid. Just because of the volatility of the fuel market, we end up not really soliciting their bids until we know that we want to get it done. The paper bid is actually has a deadline of next Monday, so we'll open that. We'll open those sealed bids on Thursday the 15th. So we're in the process of getting that accomplished as well.
All right. I'll take the hockey puck back. All right. Well, thanks everyone, and so we'll open it up for questions. Anybody in the standing room only auditorium have any questions that you guys might have about anything that we talked about? Okay, so let's go on to our internet, and let's see if there's anyone has any questions. You can unmute yourself and physically say your question, or you can use the chat function. So do we have any questions out there from anyone? Justine, just shake your head yes or no if you have any questions. Okay, good. You're the only one showing video right now, so I wanted to embarrass you. All right, so now she's going to turn her video off. All right, well, if there's no questions, thank you again for attending. Excuse me. Hopefully you found this worthwhile. And again, if you have any follow-up questions, don't be afraid to contact me or the division directors, and hopefully you found this a valuable tool as we continue to improve communication throughout the organization. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day. And we'll be having this up on the Ustream channel for your viewing pleasure in the near future. Take care, everyone. Fortunately, I don't have any candy to give away like I did the last time.
Really nice theme to play you out.
Oh, yeah. Let's work on that. Let's work on like exit music.
Yeah.
As I'm, or when we start, I want to hear back and